Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Thursday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. It's Thirsty Thursday. It's Thirsty Sunday when we do the show on Sunday too, though. So, and Thirsty Wednesday and Tuesday and Monday. A second quad 4 loss for the Orange. 56 threes made and 168 points. Syracuse is lost by a total of 77 points, 363 to 286 in the 4-game skid. More single-game records broken by opponents after the Orange drop against Wake Forest, 96 to 76. Supposedly one of the worst shooting teams in the ACC. You'll hear from us. We'll hear from you a little bit and fan feedback. And Syracuse will wrap up the regular season at the Dome this Saturday at 5 o'clock. We'll let you know what we think about that game against Wake Forest. So, look, first of all, of course we're doing a podcast. I guess. I had a late soccer game last night, and I wasn't going to get... I didn't, by the way, Joe. I was thinking about going at 8 o'clock, but it would have been closer to 9. And 9, guys, is my bedtime. So actually 8 o'clock's bedtime. But anyway, that's why we're late. And I figured, what's the rush? Right? So Syracuse hasn't lost 4 in a row this year, and they're finishing the season with it. It's not good. The looks, in my opinion, progressively getting worse in body language and play. And it doesn't bode well to finish out the season. So, with that said, we're going to do another montage. We'll hear from Coach. We'll talk about it, and then we'll hear from you. Here it goes.
Our fans get to cheer about us, our 2 walk-ons making plays. Listen, we played this team in Atlanta. They're a good team. They were pretty good then. They're a little better team now. They're playing better. But we played them in Atlanta. Our defense was just better. We were moving better. Our defense has progressively gotten worse. And, we tried to go with the press. That was a mistake. We just gave them some open shots there. I shouldn't do that. I should know better. And but we can't stop anybody. And that's the bottom line. Offensively, we did some things. Jesse's got to be better down there than that, but we just have not been able to stop anybody 4 games in a row. And that's me. That's on me. It's my defense, and we're not able to stop anybody with it. So that's where we are. Questions? We're standing a lot on defense, on rebounding situations, standing and watching, looking for somebody else maybe to get it. And, offensively, we try to get people to play. And, as guys are shooting threes that cannot shoot threes. And, that's just trying to get us back in the game the wrong way. But when your defense is this bad, it really doesn't really matter that much. We played pretty good offense for quite a while, but that's not the issue. That's not the answer. The reality is we're not going anywhere unless we win the tournament, which obviously is very unlikely the way we're playing. But this game, as much as you want to win it, doesn't change anything. We have to go there and win to go to the tournament. So, but obviously you don't want to play this badly. Our fans have been great all year, and I'm sorry they have to watch that because this was the first time at home that we just haven't competed defensively.
Chris Bell started the first 28 games of the season. He hasn't played at all the last two.
Yeah, he was going to start this game, and then practice yesterday. He didn't do anything for like 6 consecutive plays. Literally, he was going to start tonight. I think at times this year we played really exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. In losses, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia. When we played teams that we were supposed to beat, we beat them, but it was a battle. They could have gone either way. You know, you're always going to lose a couple close games. We've won 4 or 5 on the road that I think normally with this team, certainly if we played them right now, we would lose. We just had enough momentum to get those games. Notre Dame, Florida State, you know, those Boston College up there, Georgia Tech. We wouldn't win those games right now, the way we're playing. We're just not playing good enough on the defensive end. We were better then. I don't have an answer for why we're not playing better now. I don't. But, you know, again, that's on me. I'm not getting them to play good enough on the defensive end. And that's the bottom line. Georgia Tech's not going anywhere. They played really hard, really well tonight, and that's what you're supposed to do. You go out there and you're playing for pride, your individual pride, your team pride. We let that go today. We let the pride that we have in our team down today. We didn't play like it was important. I say that, but I think they were trying every play. But we just didn't execute defensively. We didn't rotate. We didn't get up to the high post.
What do you hope your younger players think out of games like this?
I hope they're embarrassed. I hope they see that this isn't good for anything.
All right. So that was lovely. Joe.
Sir.
The defense, obviously, the glaring issue. Last 4 games. I don't know, I'm not smart enough, basketball minded guy to be able to, other than it's just effort. Other than effort, I don't know what could be done. I don't know what's happened. You heard Coach talk about the games that we did win that were close were teams we should have beat. And we hung with a lot of teams that we had no business of hanging with. And so when you look at all of that, and we talked a lot about that, and some of the luck that was on our side, and winning some of these close games and pulling them out, and now we're just floundering. And like there is all hope is lost. Like there's it's demoralizing to watch as a fan. Your team just blow it. Game after game. 168 points and 3-pointers in the last 4 games. It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, they've been averaging the last 3 games. Teams are averaging 95 points, 16 threes against us. That's not good. It's not going to work. At least, I mean, maybe in the NBA it would, but not here. And the tough part about it is that we don't know. Like, we're not in the, obviously there's things that are going on. We've had situations where Benny is playing good, then he's not, then he takes a personal day off and isn't even at a game. And then, Chris Bell starting every game, and now he's not even getting any minutes. And that there's players that just aren't happy, and you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And it's tough to watch because, I mean, I watched the Georgia Tech game, and I'm watching, and it's like, effort is tough, right? Because you can put in effort doing something wrong.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's the situation, and that's when I was watching. I'm watching them, and for certain rebounds, and there are plays and certain things where they're ball watching and everything like that, and there's obviously just a lot of mental errors that goes on, but it doesn't mean that they're not trying. But in certain times, you do see that they aren't trying. But there was also plays where they played good defense, and then they hit a deep 3 that had no business hitting. or then they get an offensive rebound and get another shot and make it. And those are the type of demoralizing defensive possessions that you have that can just kill a team, especially a young team that's on this type of streak, on this type of losing streak, especially after you're winning 3, you're going into Duke thinking that you can go ahead and start a run to try to, get into the tournament, right?
Yeah, there's still tournament hopes 4 games ago.
Right. And now we're here. And the other day I was sitting there and I was watching. I didn't know. I didn't know if I was watching the worst defensive team, because it didn't look to me like the worst defensive team I've ever seen, or if I was watching Georgia Tech play the best possible game they could ever play in their lives.
But why does every team play their best game against Syracuse? Know. So that tells me it's the defense.
Well, those last 3 games, right? Yeah. It tells me that I think that there's something that coaches have figured out through tape and through watching other teams try to beat the zone. There's things that they've figured out against this particular zone that we have that our guys just haven't been able to figure out on the floor.
You talk about some of the maybe some of the issues going on personally or otherwise with some of the players. You got Chris Bell, hasn't played in 2 games. He was going to start. And then I guess he had a bad practice, and coach said, I guess that you're just not even going to play. And that's 2 games in a row. And Chris Bell was a player who was coming on and showing a lot of promise and was doing really good. And now, he's been benched like riding the pine the past 2 games, like in warm-up stuff. Yeah. So,
I listened to the Chris Joseph, Eric Dievendorf podcast.
Okay.
And it's pretty funny. If you do want to listen, the parental discretion advised, but it's funny listening to their thought process because they went through it, and they sit there on the podcast and they're like, they try to give young kids advice, especially when they're talking about Coach Boeheim and how to deal with certain coaches and stuff. But it's also funny because they also realize that they didn't realize it until actually they graduated, and when they were kids and they were the coach, or when he was their coach, they thought they did the same things. You know what I mean? So, it's just kids growing up. But specifically when they were talking about the Chris Bell thing, they were like, Dievendorf was like, that he did something. He's in the doghouse. He did something. He's like, Coach Boeheim. He's like, he'd find any reason not to do something, and that he just probably did some slight little.
He probably threw a little bit of a fit when he was being corrected or something, and maybe it escalated a little bit. And he's like, all right, well, you're not gonna play.
That was the one thing that I thought it was funny when they were saying. There's a lot of things that were funny, but they were like, you don't give your coaches any reason to give them a reason not to give you playing time.
I mean, seriously. I mean, he switched to a man late in the game, and some people are like, oh, you think it was just to spite people and to show them? I mean, it was late in the game. I mean, I guess it was
the last 15 minutes.
Well, yeah.
It was, sure. But we were down 30.
Right. But I didn't see. Yes, true. But I mean, it still, to me, visually, was just like, okay, it threw a little bit of a curveball, but then it was the same old. It was the same old. And when Coach was talking, and I mean same old, just as far as we were just still getting killed. I mean, Coach,
once they figured it out,
right? And Coach talked about the press. We've talked that the press has gotten worse, along with the defense in general, I should say, but. I mean, Coach has admitted that. I mean, look, a lot of this lies at his feet.
He's taking it now, yeah.
Yeah, he's taking it now. I mean, he's taking a little bit, but not like he did in the last press conference. But yeah, I mean, the press, not the best idea. I mean, but I think I don't fault him for trying it. But yeah, I mean, the last 2 teams have killed us again with the press.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think he tried it too early, Pittsburgh. I still thought that there was time to play your base defense, but maybe it wouldn't have mattered. I don't know.
Well, Joe, I gotta imagine. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but we'll never know. But I don't think it would have mattered. I honestly don't. Just because of the fact that Pittsburgh been there and done that, and we had pinned Pittsburgh up against a wall with that thing. And they probably, who knows how many times you talk about watching tape, how many times did they watch that? That's what saved Syracuse's ass in that game, or almost did. And they had to have revisited that.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Fans were super motivated. Boeheim since then had called them out for buying a team. And again, I mean, they took their foot off the gas pedal and they almost lost that game the first time around. So they were going to make sure they didn't do it this time around.
Yeah. I just, it's tough. I give credit to anybody who's listening to podcasts right now. I give credit to anybody who's reading articles. I mean, there's nothing to write about, and there's nothing I can sit here and say that is going to be anything different than I've already said before in the last 3 games. Right, Joe? I mean, we've kind of deferred. I think sometimes when we have stretches like this, we defer to other subjects. We haven't really talked about too much about the game in general. We kind of find other content, and there's nothing left. We're out of other content right now to talk about. So we're left talking about this montage. But we've gotten a couple Easter eggs in montages the past couple times to be able to elaborate on and kind of change the subject. And I think that when you commit to doing a show like this where you're trying to cover every game and going into every game, and you see the same thing 4 games in a row, at least 3. I mean, you can almost just give Duke the pass and then the last 3, even though they're all pretty damn similar.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's just, I mean, what do you say? Okay, look, any hope I had is gone. All right.
Of course.
And I held on to it till the very last minute. Had we put up a fight against Clemson, Pitt, Georgia Tech, beat Georgia Tech, and put up a fight against the other ones, I mean, you still have hope. They still could go in the tournament and do something, right? I have nothing left. Joe. And I'm not trying to be rude or nasty. It's nothing against the players or the coaches in general. It's just that I'm just I ain't seeing it.
No, I mean, coach isn't either, and he said that at the press conference.
If he doesn't know what to do, what the hell are we supposed to say about it?
And I'm honestly, like, we've seen games where we've gotten blown out by double digits, 20 points against, other good teams, right? Or maybe we have, some injury or something like that. The very few times that I can remember, I know there was a DePaul game way back in the day, but like, Tuesday was probably one of the hardest games that I've ever had to watch.
Yeah, it was tough.
One of the worst. A lot of it was because of the talent level and the fact that we just beat them by 17 at Georgia Tech this year with the same team.
Well, our team was the same. Theirs wasn't.
Well, okay, but still, I mean, even with they had 5 players play like over 36, 37 minutes. So here I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, their legs are gonna be tired in the second half. They're not gonna hit the threes.
That's what I was thinking,
and they still did.
I was thinking the same thing because you normally see that if they come out hot, especially in the first half, they always cool down, and they just didn't.
Plus, like I said, a lot of times it's if you have a deep team and you can keep people's legs fresh, then maybe that doesn't happen. But you figure these guys are gonna play 36 minutes, and it wasn't like that was a slow paced game. And they still seemed good at the end of the game. It
was pure adrenaline. I mean, they were having the freaking game of the year for these guys. That's the best game.
Two players had 20 points, another one had 30, and the other guy had a triple double.
Yeah, you love the triple doubles too, coming against your team. There was another team that did the same thing.
I think we've given up like 2 or 3 triple doubles.
I think it's 3 because wasn't who was it? Indiana. They were the first one, I think. Anyway.
They might have.
Yeah, I think it was Indiana, and then there was
the guy from Miami do it?
Man, I can't remember, but I think when you say 3, I'm pretty sure you're right. But it doesn't matter. It's just like, what, like, okay, as a player, what do you have left in the tank? Coach talked about pride. So Coach walked this statement back, by the way, when he realized what he was saying and how he was probably going to get hammered by news articles or this or that. But what he was saying is true. To some extent. Maybe it's not pride, but, saying they gave up is harsh, but somewhere in between pride and giving up, that's what really happened. I mean, I just don't know what they have left in the tank and what motivation they have left to play as a team and try to get some more wins one way or another somehow this year. I just don't see how you do it after you get beat down. Now, I think they can, but what I'm seeing with my eyes is another story. And when Coach comes to the podium and he talks about something like that, and he gets so deep into it that he's like, now, you know, and what I mean, you know, with that said, they tried on every play. I mean, I don't know if they tried on every play. We just got done talking about how they stood around watching people try to grab rebounds, waiting for the next guy to do it.
And I saw certain plays, and I saw plays where Benny Williams is, and that's what it's just so frustrating because it's like he doesn't have an answer, and it seems like for the first time in a long time he doesn't have an answer, at least one that he can give without getting killed. And
that's just it. He's got an answer. He just can't say it out loud. I guarantee it. I mean, he's not.
But you're watching Benny Williams play guard nobody, standing in the middle of two guys, and not being able to close out on a three-point shooter. And you see
when they played they couldn't close out on shooters.
Coach is coaching him up, getting Malik, see what he's doing? Make sure you guard that guy. Benny out. You just gave up 2 threes. Malik goes in, allows the same thing to happen as they're coaching Benny up. Benny, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. You can't do this. You have to pick a guy. You have to. Then he goes back, and they just continue to make the same mistakes. So I don't know if they're just ball watching and they're not like watching the man, like the guys moving around. I don't know if there's any communication out there because a lot of zone is people in the back line communicating. And I know in the past I've heard it.
The communication's terrible, dude.
It is.
There's no communication.
Dude, I remember when Bai Musakita was in that middle, you could hear him talking and telling people.
Well,
and Roberson and stuff like that. Like
they used to talk about it too. Talk during between foul shot or between whistles. They would talk about it. They huddle up and talk about it. You don't see that. It's just like it's like freestyle. Like this is freestyle basketball. And coaches always had kind of a freestyle offense, but the defense is not. Like that needs to be they need to play more cohesive than what they've been doing. And I don't know what's changed. And if Coach, like I said, if Coach doesn't, or he doesn't say he does, then I don't know what the hell to expect myself.
I mean, I don't think it's a change thing, really. I think it's, that's just what it is. They have a base defense. They go in with a game plan, who to stop, who to get out on. And this is, we're going to make these guys take these shots.
Well, how much of this is preparation by coaches? I think a ton of it's preparation by the coaches. The kids got to go in there and execute, but it just seems like the game plan. Dude, we were out of timeouts with like a half a game with like 19 minutes left in the game. Like it was that bad. Have you ever seen a coach burn through timeouts like that?
I'd rather him do that. I mean, what's the ladder?
I mean, well, yeah. What are you saving them for? I get it, but I know I'm not arguing that it should have been done. But that's how bad it was.
Happens when
that's my point.
That happens, right? Don't call a timeout and let you go down 20, and the fans are yelling, well, what about a timeout?
Yeah.
What about this? What about that? So
that's the other thing in front of a home crowd too. And Wake Forest is a game that's going to be played on senior night, and I think they're retiring some jerseys if I remember right.
It's alumni weekend, I believe.
Hakeem Warwick and Jerry McNamara's jersey are getting hung. So,
yep, there are a lot of alumni coming back for that game.
Yeah, can they still play?
That place is going to be packed, and I think majority of the reason why that place is going to be packed is because they're doing a ceremony for the 2003 National Championship team.
20 years.
And it's senior day, and it's all that other stuff, right?
It's everything. It's everything. What is going to motivate this team? Joe Girard is got to. The reins are his. Like take them, do something. I just don't
need help.
Oh, I know, absolutely, absolutely. I know, but it starts with a leader. You need one leader. It starts with that.
Yeah, I just don't know. Did you see Judah out there like trying to get his team motivated, trying to get him to play, and it's frustrating because it's not a good look either for why would Judah come back and play with a bunch of guys?
I was just gonna say, what does this even mean for next year? The effort that we're seeing. What does this mean for next year? We talked so much about this is a almost a gimme year. That's so young. So much talent that still needs to be developed. This is going to be great. We're going to see what they can do. They're going to get better throughout the year, and they did get better. They were getting better. Players individually were getting better. Benny Williams had a huge game. Malik Brown was coming on. Chris Bell was doing great. And then we hit this freaking brick wall, and now it's just
named Duke.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was not just that though. It's not just that.
It started there.
It started there, but it could have started with anybody. It doesn't matter. I mean, I wouldn't lay it there, but I think it's just the cumulative of the 4 games. It's increasingly worse with every loss, and the feels a little bit like the team's ready to. I just feel like they're waiting for the season to be over. I mean, I know a lot of fans are. I know I'm not exactly excited about.
See, I just
where
like
I feel like
players
this
don't
is
think
gonna.
like that.
I know that they probably don't. I say it feels like
Players wanna play.
it feels like it looks like that. Well, if they want to play, they should actually play then. And you got guys that aren't playing. Well, you got guys out there that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're getting crushed, and they're standing around looking at another guy going, "You gonna grab that rebound, or you want me to go get it? Should you get it? What should we do here?" So, I don't know. It's just frustrating, and I love this team. I love this team. I was excited about this team just on a personal level.
The development, and I think that it's unfortunate that the last 4 games have went the way they have, and it's just obviously a bad look on a season where there was a lot of bad losses early and then a bunch of missed opportunities in the middle, and
just a little bit of controversy and some of the things surrounding the players and just the team in general, and it's just like, gosh, man, just a forgettable year, unfortunately. We talk about last year being the first losing season, and couple that with football season and the lacrosse season, and you're just like, man, that was terrible. And then we come into this year and we're like, oh my gosh.
No, I mean an okay start with the bowl game.
No. I'm just talking about basketball.
Right.
We got the bowl game. Lacrosse teams, they're a good team. They're going to be good. They're going to get better. But I'm just saying, just like you think you go out of last year and you're like, man, I can't wait till next year. And let's be honest. I mean, you got your football guys and basketball guys. I was always a basketball guy. You always knew kind of what you had with basketball. It was the one consistent a lot of times. That was always a contender in something. And we kind of got spoiled with that for so long. And now you're just like shit, we can't even have that now. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's just,
because if you put it in perspective, the majority of the basketball teams have more seasons like this year and worse than they do making it to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, there are the teams that remain consistent and we used to be one of them. And you can make an argument that, well, it's the AC, it's going into the ACC and this and that, and if it was sanctions and the mix of this and the mix of that, and
we'll get into that later.
It's just compounding one thing after another. So, all right, let's do this. Let's go to Facebook. I didn't ask for thoughts, but I got them anyway. Facebook left them. I don't think
we live yet.
I don't think Twitter did anything. No. You want to go live? I have it set up.
If you want to.
All right. Here we go. Time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you. The loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, guys. You know what to do. And gals. You know what to do. At the end of every game, I ask for your thoughts on the game. Go there. You leave them. In fact, I didn't ask for thoughts. I said if I wanted to hear your thoughts, I'd ask. But
which is indirectly.
Some of you left them anyway. Oh, it turned people off on Twitter. So, anyway.
No, well, I mean, that's kind of,
Facebook okay. was solid, though, as they always are.
I mean, it's a little contradictory, bud.
I know. It's my way of saying, look, drop your thoughts. I'm not going to do my whole rigmarole where I act like I'm excited about.
I thought you were doing the whole, I'm going to say this, like the comment for the unfollow.
Oh, no. It's my way of saying, look.
Like instead of not saying anything and just unfollowing or just not putting down
Oh, no,
thoughts for
that's
the
more
game?
direct. That's
You
more
just
direct.
Put, if I wanted thoughts for the game, that I'd ask.
Yeah. It's known as sarcasm.
Oh, okay. All right. No.
Yeah. I guess, I thought it was funny.
It worked.
I thought it was funny. Robert, on Facebook, I'm just wondering what the hell happened to the last 4 games. We're not even close to the scrappy team we saw. I mean, wow, it's stunning. I mean, I totally agree with that. It's like you're watching it's like you're watching a team that all are either hungover or running a fever or have a stomach bug and they have diarrhea.
Whoa.
That's what it's like for me. I'm just saying. Top fan, Jesse. Oh, yeah. On Facebook. Come on, cat. I asked my wife to do one thing for me when she exited this area before I started the podcast, and that is to get the cats out of here. And what do I got, Joe? A cat.
You got a cat.
I got a cat. Jesse, top fan. Last year's team. Hold on a second. That is not this game. Forgive me. The cat walked across the keyboard is what happened. So, which is always a problem. Oof. I'm straight out of positivity for this year. If we're punting at this point, I'd like to see Cope and Brown play the whole game against Wake because hustle and maybe they won't transfer. I mean, look, I think Malik Brown knows he's got a spot. And, there was a comment by Coach on people trying to do things to get us into the game, by taking bad shots. I mean, there were some bad shots, and bad defense leads to bad offense. The term defense, good defense leads to offense, but bad defense leads to bad offense because this team's just not poised enough to be able to contain themselves and get themselves back in the game. It's like they hit the panic button so damn quick.
Right.
And there was a lot of, Judah hit what, 5 in a row at one point. He went 1 for 6. I mean, does he really need to be taking 6? I don't know. Or 7, rather. I mean, I don't know if you just want to throw people out there for practice and not want to try to win. I think you put Copeland and Brown in for the whole game. But do you really need to do that to keep them here? Joe?
Those two, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what I think too.
I think that those two have been good teammates, whether they played or whether they didn't, and they've actually gotten more playing time as the season's gone on. So I think they realize that those are 2 players right there that didn't let the starting lineup in the beginning of the year and the minutes they got in the non-conference change how they practiced, how they tried to get better, how they were teammates, and their hard work paid off, and it ended up getting them a lot more minutes than what a lot of people thought they were going to get. So they know what it takes to put in. They just got to put in, more time in the off season and get bigger, faster, stronger, and work together to figure out what the heck's going on with this defense. But I don't think those two are the ones that we got to worry about. I think Chris Bell, Justin Taylor, and Benny are the ones that people have to worry about because those guys have all been up and down, and they've all had a lot of early minutes.
If I'm guessing, I think you have to worry about Benny. That's who I think you need to worry about. And right now, maybe Chris Bell. Because Chris Bell doesn't seem like a happy guy. And you know what? Maybe Chris Bell brought it upon himself, and he just can't handle.
Who knows?
The repercussions.
You never know because we don't know what's
going
on behind closed doors.
Exactly. But he doesn't seem like a happy guy nonetheless. Doesn't matter.
No, I mean, shoot. I mean, there's every roster has a guy that's, not happy. So it is what it is. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy. You got to do what you got to do as coaches to give you the best chance to win.
Yeah. Here's a little thread. Brian, top fan on the Facebook. Everyone can blame JB, but those players quit. Not the coaches, not the fans, but the players. Let's hear about the NIL deals. Crap. Bobby responds and said they quit because their coach refuses to adapt to today's game. Bobby says, maybe, but it's still horseshit for the players to give zero effort and then have balls big enough to ask for more money to come play for SU with NIL deals. Okay, I didn't proofread that. I'm not going to keep going. I'll leave it there because it's all speculation. But as far as the players quitting, Joe, obviously I don't think they all did, but I think it's fair to say that the body language of some was subpar, to say the least. And I guess to piggyback that with Bobby's response saying that they quit because the coach refuses to adapt to today's game. And I just don't know, because they were playing good, doing the same thing. Like,
you can take that a couple different ways. Like, is he talking about like the way that you navigate your roster through like NIL, transfer portal, that kind of stuff, or is he talking about just the way that they play the game?
I think I think this is a knock on the zone, if I had to guess. Yeah, that's what it sounds like, right? And that the zone isn't conducive to what the game is today, and that is outside shooting, right? So the zone worked really good in the days where it was more of a penetration game and kind of a kill the clock deal a lot of times, and the game has just evolved a little bit, and I think that it's probably a knock on that. But there's a lot of old school to Jim Boeheim, and maybe there's someone that can come in for the same amount of money and do better, but we still have the rest of this year to figure out what's left. Okay, let's start there. And like I said, I don't think Boeheim's around. If he doesn't retire this year, I bet you he retires next year. That's just my guess.
Saying that, right?
I mean, that's just my guess. And I mean, I wouldn't be like, of course he wants to leave this thing in good. When he passes the torch, he wants to leave it in good shape. But is it possible? I mean, at this point, if this breaks apart this year, and you've got a bunch of transfers, and you don't have much of a roster for next year, and you have to dip in the portal, what's your game plan?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is it's who takes his place? I
know. I mean, at this point, I think there's a lot of people that don't care who takes his place. They just want to see someone else. I'm just saying. I mean, I do. I care.
I mean, I guess my thing is this, right? Is that like Mike Hopkins right now, right? He's in his 6th season in Washington. They're talking about how he might be getting fired this year. He's on the hot seat.
Yeah, he did really good his first year. Won Coach of the Year in his conference, right?
And he's put a whole bunch of players into the NBA. It's just
big men.
Just big men, guards. I mean, really? He's had good recruiting classes. It's just they just haven't gotten it done as far as wins and losses once they get into the play. And maybe Mike Hopkins is just supposed to be an assistant coach. I don't know, because he's a hell of a recruiter, and I saw the recruiting went down when we lost him.
Go ahead. Yeah,
and realistically, when you look at it, if we get an assistant that comes in, are they going to do the same thing? Because I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bashing Jim Boeheim and bashing this and that, but a lot of it is the zone, right? Yeah. Some of it's the recruiting and the NIL and stuff like that, which again, there's some reasons for that, but I mean, a lot of it is the zone and how they play their offense. And if you just get another guy on the coaching staff and say, okay, we got to get Jerry McNamara and hire him as head coach, and maybe we can try to get Hopkins back as an assistant or whatever, maybe get the recruiting back up. That's all fine and dandy, and you can keep your recruits and keep everything kind of intact the way that it is, because this is kind of how this school is. But you're still going to, I mean, are they going to still do the 2-3 zone? Is it still going to be basically Jim Boeheim coaching, but just somebody underneath him? You know what I mean? Like, if that's the case, then this next coach is going to be, all the fans are going to be on him. The first season, if he comes out and plays 2-3 zone, and we don't do good, then it's going to be, the same old this, the same old that. We need to do this, this, and that. And it's just like, we got to decide on what we are. I mean,
right.
Look, he's been there, and he's built this since my whole life.
Well, both of our whole lives.
It's exactly a lot of people that are listening. That's what we know, and I think that's probably part of. I mean, the fact that he's done well and we get him for a hometown discount, but he's also, I mean, it's safe. You know what I mean? Like people they're used to it. You know what I mean? They're comfortable with it. So I think that a lot of the fans that want him to be here probably are doing that because of the comfort level. And then there's other fans that probably think that there's other reasons, right? He can decide on his own. He can do all of this. And then there's other fans that want him gone and want to bring in some new blood, and I mean, we've been a team of family, a team of the guys always come back. Assistant coaches always come back. Players are always coming back and helping. And you see that even with Boeheim's Army and everything, and what happens to that? What happens to that whole thing when, you go off and you just get rid of all the assistant coaches that played for Syracuse and you go and you just get all these new coaches that really don't have that Syracuse blood running through them,
Well, all right, a couple things. Back to Hopkins. He recruited guys from us. First of all.
Yep.
We already know that he can do that. I mean, we know that he's a great recruiter. We know he's a great motivator. We know that he is a guy who can connect well with the younger generation, and probably more so than Coach. Okay, to be fair, obviously, I think it goes without saying. But I don't know if that's the answer either. But like you said, maybe a better assistant coach. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm just speculating. But here's one thing. Jerry McNamara, as awesome of a player as he is, and as dedicated he's been, and as long as he's been at Syracuse as an assistant, we don't hear much from him. He does the scouting. Some of the game prep and things like that is Jerry. And I know that he's not out there playing, so... not laying everything at his feet, but there is a coaching aspect there that we should see more of, I feel like, from Jerry McNamara. And that's not a knock on Jerry. Everybody loves him. I love him too. But is that the answer? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, Joe. I have no idea. I'm just spitballing here because it's what people are talking about, and that's what we're dealing with. But, I think that to some degree, if Hopkins came back, he would be more successful at Syracuse. I will say that. I think that if Jerry was to fill the head coaching role, that he would have success and maybe be able to do things his way. He's still doing things Coach's way, right? So, I mean, he is the coach.
Right.
So... with that said, I think if Hopkins were to take it over when he thought he was supposed to, or maybe when we all speculated rather than going to Washington, he would be more successful here than he would be there. But we did see him coach as a head coach for SU with the full roster when Coach Boeheim was suspended. It wasn't good. It was like 1-6 or something like that. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
So... and I know that he was thrown into that role and unexpectedly to some degree, but
yeah, but that was the year we went to the Final Four, surprisingly too. So, and that's the whole thing. Is people want to talk about ACC. The first year we got to the ACC, it was Tyler Ennis. That was his freshman year. We had a great year. We were 28-6. Went to the third round of the NCAA tournament, But then the next year, we lost a whole bunch of guys, and we weren't eligible for postseason because we got sanctioned. So then we went into the scholarship thing. And even dealing with the scholarship thing, we still went to the Final Four the next year. But then the year after that, we had to fill with transfer portal guys, and we ended up going to the NIT. And then after that, you're talking about a Sweet 16 and then two NCAA, runs in a row. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit. And I feel like with COVID and just with everything, I don't know.
Well, everybody's playing with a level playing field, though, Joe. I mean, you can make the argument that COVID was bad.
I know, but the thing is it's basically COVID. After COVID was the whole extra year, graduate transfers, all this other stuff. Then the NIL, right? And if you don't adjust to that, And we haven't adjusted to that. We don't have an athletic director that adjusted to it correctly.
Oh,
like
I think our athletic director's garbage. I mean, that's just me. I've said it before in regards to football, but anyway.
And I mean, realistically, some of those NCAA you're talking, we're right on the bubble, and we end up going and we make a run. And like I said, we had that 1 year after COVID with Buddy where we made the Sweet 16 when we were in a playing game, and then that culminated the next year with the worst season that Boeheim's ever had. And the next season, which is this year, which, I mean, if it ends the way that we think it's going to end, will be his second worst year. So it's one of those things where he's either got to change his way of thinking, mentality, everything altogether, everything that he's done this whole time, or we have to do something different there. We got to get somebody in here who's going to change with it, because that's really what I see. I mean, you want to talk about NITs and NCAA tournaments and this and that. I mean, he's seen an NIT in every single decade from the 80s all the way through. We've been to NITs and then NCAA tournaments. And, you know, up until last year, though, we were at least in the NIT every single year. That wasn't a year that we were basically ineligible because of NCAA sanctions or COVID. So that's really where we're at. And I think that's really why we have the just the outrage of the fans as far as how bad it's been now, is that you have these last 2 years where these other teams and other colleges and stuff, they're figuring out the NIL and the graduate transfer, and they're using it correctly, and they're winning. There's teams that are going from the basement to the NCAA tournament the next year because they're using the resources available that the new rules have, and we just haven't done it. And like you said, it's a level playing field. Everybody can do it, except for, different colleges have different NIL options. But
I think something was tried, and it fell on its face a little bit, to say the least.
Well, I think that he's always been. I mean, yes, you got the onesie twosie guys that came in, sat out a year, practiced with the team, then came in and played, and it was really, really good, right? Elijah Hughes, Michael Benajay. Guys like that. But then, in recent years, I mean, we tried the transfer portal thing with, John Gillen and Andrew White. And as much as there was great games and, it was a fun season, we made it to the NIT.
Yeah.
Right. And then last year, we tried it again. Brought in 3 guys.
Well, we had, yeah, I know. I mean, yeah,
And we had the worst season ever.
There was no not only no athleticism, but I just felt like that was just thrown together. Any coach wants, he's got both his kids on the team. I mean, there's as talented as Buddy was, it's just I don't know, man. Again, cohesiveness. And I thought I saw it coming together this year. I think that's why I'm so disappointed, is that you saw it coming together, you felt like it was getting better, and then we're dealing with this.
And I think a lot of this too is outside of the coach's hands, to be perfectly honest with you. I think there's a lot of not trusting certain players on the team.
Well, what do you think about like this conversation here? To your point, that's why I'm bringing this up. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
but Jake on Facebook says clearly Chris Bell was the problem, sarcastically, right? And then Brian responds, something happened in practice between JB and Bell. He's not seeing the quarter after starting, and the players have all quit. So what do you think, how much of that do you think plays in the last 2 games with what might be going on with Bell? I mean, do you even want to even speculate? But there's obviously something there. And is it just the locker room's lost? Coach was at a loss for words, which is not something that I think we've ever seen. And obviously the body language shows a little bit, and the play showed. So what is it? You have to imagine there's some degree of unhappiness to be this bad. I mean, it's Georgia Tech, dude.
I know.
Dude,
that's what I'm saying. Is that you don't, we beat them by 17 at Georgia Tech.
At their place.
and then we turn around a month later and we lose by 20 at home. Like, yeah, it was a different Georgia Tech team, but they're not that much better. So something happened. You don't just go from competing against the Virginias and the Miamis and the North Carolinas of the world and winning the games you're supposed to doing what you've done the last 4 games.
No, I mean, Georgia Tech stinks too, by the way. I mean, they're just not. I mean, they've gotten a little bit better towards the end of the year. Okay, you know, they pulled off a win against Virginia Tech towards the end of the year. Maybe Louisville. Whatever.
My biggest thing was the rebounding.
Now Boston College is hot. Yeah, right. Boston College is hot. That's Georgia Tech's last game of the season.
No, we're a Georgia Tech fan this week.
Right? I mean,
if we lose,
because if they get smoked by Boston College has been coming on strong lately.
I'm just saying, if we lose and Boston College wins, then we're no longer the 8-9 noon game on Wednesday. We're in the Tuesday games.
Yeah. What were you saying about rebounds? 34-28. I mean, we got out rebounded all 4 of these games.
They're tall. This guy was 6'7".
Yeah, that's terrible. That was effort. The rebounds are effort, bro.
He went up and dunked on both of them.
I know, it's embarrassing.
Benny and Malik and Jesse are taller than that guy. And he was going up between 2 of them at a time, and he was making layups and getting rebounds. That's the most frustrating thing, other than watching every single 3 go in. Seemed like every 3, but not even half went in. But still, it was ridiculous.
Quite possibly the worst loss of the season for me.
School record.
You can talk about Bryant and that.
What, the worst game?
But
Absolutely the worst game. That might be the worst game I've seen in a decade.
I mean, I was going to be that dramatic at one point, Joe.
I mean, Colgate was bad last year.
Colgate was bad last year, but Colgate was decent, dude. They made the freaking tournament. This team doesn't have a snowball's chance of hell of making anything. They're not making anything.
Colgate was in the ACC. They wouldn't either.
I understand that, but that's not the situation. The situation is that Georgia Tech stinks, and we got smoked.
Well, they didn't on Tuesday.
They did. They did. They went off on Tuesday because we stunk. What did we stink more, or were they just that good? That we stunk more, dude. We stunk more. We stunk it up, big time. All right, I'm done with this game.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I'm done with it. The all-time series between Syracuse and Wake Forest sits at 10-2 in favor of the Orange. Syracuse and Wake met only one time prior to Syracuse joining the ACC, that being the 2001 preseason NIT tournament. Syracuse also got their first tournament win in the ACC against the ACC tournament win against Wake Forest in 2018. Last year, Syracuse took the W 97-72. Gerard, Buddy, Edward, Swider, and Jimmy, your starting 5. Buddy with 30 points in that game. The Demon Deacons sit at 18-12 overall, 10-9 in the ACC, and they're coming off a loss to Boston College. I talked about Boston College a second ago. They lost that game 71-69 on Tuesday. They have some decent wins, though, despite that in the ACC. 81-70 win against Duke. It's good. 77-75 against Virginia Tech, and 92-85 against North Carolina. They have 4 guys this year so far averaging double digits in the game. Tyree Appleby, he's the best among them. He leads the team with just about 19 points a game. They're averaging, as a team, just over 38 shots from distance a game. They shoot the 3-ball non-stop. Do you think that's bad for Syracuse? Damari Monsanto, he takes the bulk of those. He hits about he's good enough for 40%. 87 for 215 from behind the arc for that dude.
No, let me stop you there.
Okay.
A week ago against NC State, he tore his patella tendon. He's out for the season.
Okay.
He's missed the last 2 games.
That's too bad for him. The aforementioned Tyree Appleby hitting 66 of 178 of his shots from distance, good enough for 37%, not half bad. Davion Williamson is hitting at a clip of 39%. He's got 48 out of 122. So obviously that changes things a little bit, but still a team that's averaging 38, knowing what they know and seeing what they've seen, obviously the game plan for them is going to be just that. And they got some guys that can do it besides Monsanto. But as a team, they're scoring about 77 points a game, hitting 46.4% from the field, 37% from behind the arc, and 74.5% from the free throw line. Not that it matters a whole hell of a lot, but Wake Forest is 86th in the net. That makes this a quad 2 game at home. Doesn't matter, but I throw that in there.
I think we're at quad 4 for them.
Syracuse is
36th.
Are they 36? Okay, I thought they were 31. Yeah, they're 131. 131st.
Whatever.
They went from 129th to 131. That is a for Wake Forest. That is going to be a
quad 1.
Quad
2. 3.
130. No, it's quad 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Quad 2 away is 76 to 135. All right, Joe, what do you got? Let's get this over with. Obviously, I slacked on my scouting report because that's where I am at this point in the season. But good catch, Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
I feel a little better now, though, about the game. But
so did I.
Because I was really worried.
It's like I'm like, this dude shot up like he shoots up 8 threes a game, like shooting at 40%. Like this is the guy right here.
He's shooting more than 8.
3.
He's shooting at least 10. It's 215 in 18 games.
How many games did he play?
Well, he played 18 games. Yeah.
He's played in 27 games. You're only looking at the ACC.
Oh, you're right.
So either way, So what I did was I went and I looked at their last couple box scores, and their lineup they're playing is quite interesting, to be perfectly honest with you. So majority of their time and their starters are going to obviously Tyree Appleby and Davion Williamson, both senior guys. Tyree Appleby transferred from Florida. Davion Williamson, he's the guy that he transferred 2 or 3 years ago when this new coach from East Tennessee State came in. And he's actually from Winston-Salem, so playing for his home team. Those two guys, 6'1" guards, those are really the guys we're going to have to look out for as far as scoring and making the plays and stuff like that. But the last couple games, they've been starting a sophomore forward who's, says forward, but he's 7'1", 250 pounds, Matthew Marsh. And also next to him, another forward transfer from Delaware, Andrew Carr, who's 6'10", 220. And last game they started another forward, Bobby Klintman, who is a freshman, 6'10", 225 from Sweden.
You got to say it like Sweden. You got to say it like
Sweden,
that.
Sorry.
There.
So they started 3 guys over 6'10". Last game with their 2 guards, awesome. Appleby and Williamson, and also taking up some of the minutes. Sophomore guards, 6'5", Lucas Taylor, and Cam Hildreth, who is a sophomore guard, 6'4", as well. That comes off the bench. So those are like the main guys. They went pretty much 7 deep against Boston College. They lost by 2 last game. So. They've only had 2 games without Monsanto, and the first game they beat Notre Dame by I think 6 or 8, and then they just lost to Boston College by 2. So, 2 teams that we beat, I think every time we played them this year. So, this is a different team.
Notre Dame and who? Forest, Notre Dame we did who? Boston College. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a different team, and they're still trying to figure out the loss without Monsanto. So. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that they can't do certain things, but I mean, it's kind of, I'm not ever going to cheer an injury, but it's kind of a breath of fresh air that after what's happened the last 4 games, especially with the 3-pointers, that their best 3-pointer isn't going to be playing.
Yeah.
So.
And I was just going to correct myself again and take another walk of shame. How about that? 25 threes a game, which is Still, it's not 38, but it's 25.
Hey, look, we all make mistakes, and after
It's
the
about
last 4
admitting-
games, especially the Tuesday, I mean,
It's
hard.
It's about owning your mistakes. I think it's what it's about.
oh, okay.
And
Well, I
and owned
appreciate
it.
that.
I owned it.
Hey, guess what? Not a lot of people do that these days. I appreciate it.
True. Thanks, Joe.
I wasn't going to call you out. I'm
I'm
not
a
going to be like that Twitter troll that's like,
Unfollow.
count games. Oh, unfollow.
Unfollow. Hey, look, I'm a high character guy. What can I say? Yeah. So,
But they're tall.
they're tall.
Rebounding.
Well, it's a problem. And you know what's going to really suck is that there's a lot going on this weekend in Syracuse. And we talked about it earlier with the alumni, the 20th anniversary of the championship, retiring some pretty predominant jerseys and some legends in Warwick and McNamara. And I still don't think it's going to motivate this team from what I see to go out there and win. Now look, it's what have you done for me lately at this point for me. The hope that I had and the faith that I had is no longer because of what I've seen and what I've lived through. And I've lived through quite a bit this year in Syracuse basketball season, Joe. And it hasn't been pretty. Right when they put me to this point, though, every single time, they just draw me back in.
Yeah,
with some
it's like
kind
the
of
Godfather.
some kind of crazy win and a run somewhere. It's only going to be the ACC tournament. There's no other run to have.
No, that's it.
So anyway, but I don't think it happens. And I love this team. And my only wish for this team is that it doesn't fall to pieces once the season's done. Because I think starting over could suck. Or it could be a blessing in disguise. Who knows? But I really wanted to see this team together next year. And I hope they can pull it together. But you know what? Lord willing, it is what it is. And I think everything happens for a reason. And we'll see what happens at the end of the season. But I think this game and maybe a game in the ACC. And, you know, we're not going to be... We've dropped so hard in the ACC now, too, that I don't even know what our seed would look like. And they were doing some mock tournament stuff.
Our seed for what?
For the ACC.
Dude, that's what it is. We're in the 8-9 game right now. If we win, we if we win, then we play Wake Forest again on Wednesday.
Okay.
At noon.
Okay. All
which
right.
again,
so
them missing their guy, it might be the best situation. Being an 8-9 game, being on the opposite side of Duke, as far as on the.
But if we lose,
if we lose and Boston College beats Georgia Tech, then we go to the 10 seed, and then we play the last seed. Well, we play Louisville on Tuesday, and then we'll be on Duke's side of the bracket.
So we gotta win. Golly day. The last freaking team I want to see again this year is Duke. No. Thank you. No,
Dude,
thank you.
If we lose, no. I mean, we'd have to win in the ACC tournament to see them, but I know it's hard to beat 2 teams in a row, or a team twice, especially in a row within a week. But I mean, that's really where we're looking at right now.
Well, I don't think they win. I think they lose 86-72 anyway.
Damn.
So
I don't think your cat liked that.
I don't think she did either. It's not even Otto. Otto would be hissing right now. That's Nala. She's the sweet one. Otto's an asshole.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the green room, they're talking about how tickets are up pretty high and there's supposed to be a snowstorm. So,
well, that's awesome. So that should bring the fans in.
Oh yeah, makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and why not jack the price up on a game, the last game of the season, when the team is on a 4-game skid and you really need fans there. I mean, why not jack the price up? That's going to really pack the dome. Hashtag pack the dome.
Well, I mean, I still think that they're going to get good students, and I think they're relying on the fact that it's alumni weekend and senior day, and
it's everything. It's everything day.
It's all the stuff except for homecoming.
Yeah, basically, it's everything else.
So, I mean, that alone is going to get. I mean, I've seen a lot of people on Facebook talking about how they can't wait to go to the game and and this and that. But like I said before, like we were talking about, I don't think it's because of the game.
It's because of the festivities.
And a lot of alumni, a lot of ex-basketball players are going to be there. So,
are you picking a score, or what are you doing? Did you already?
I think we win 76-75.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh!
I mean, I hope you're right. You know,
I'm just saying, like, think about the things that are going on right now.
What do you mean?
I'm just like thinking about like the coaches' like conversations with. I mean, I was listening to Jerry McNamara. He was on. So that's the one thing. The assistant coaches, like we talked about the local radio shows that are on ESPN and stuff like that, like ESPN.
I like so
the news.
Yeah.
And I listen to like they have all the assistants down there with Griffin, and they all got their days and their weekly spots and stuff like that. And you're
talking about Cuse Sports Talk.
Yeah, McNamara. He talked about how he was talking to Joe, and Joe's like, I've never lost like this. Like I've never, and Jerry was trying to tell him like, well, I have, and it's who you are. You don't let the losses change you. You got to keep moving.
Well, you should let them. You should let them change you a little bit. You should let them. Losses like that should motivate you. Yeah.
But it shouldn't change. It shouldn't change you as far as losing your confidence.
It shouldn't bring you down and make you sad for yourself and give you the sads.
Right.
It gave me the sads, but I'm not playing the game.
Right. And then at the end of the day too, there's a harsh reality that some people just can't play basketball with other people. Like that's just it. I mean, do you see
two people who you would like to mention?
Team sports, huh?
Do you see two people that you would like to mention that you don't think can play basketball together?
No, I don't think. I'm not going to call out names. I'm
just curious if you're willing to do it. That's all.
No, I just think that there's players that can't do it all, and when you're getting doubled or you're getting switched and you have to pass to these guys when they're open to rely on them to make shots and they don't all year, then it's difficult. People wonder why Judah makes bad decisions sometimes or gets stuck driving to the lane, or Joe takes bad shots. Well,
they're trying to do too much.
Who else is helping them?
Right.
Who else is helping them?
Well, we know that.
And that's
we know
what happens. And that's what happens in basketball and in team sports. Is that if you have teammates that you lose trust with, then it doesn't make it that easy to just pass it to them when they're open. The same thing with a quarterback and a receiver. They drop by wide open balls. Well, guess what? It doesn't make it easy for the quarterback to throw it to them the next time. And that's, I think, a lot of what's going on. Is I think that you got some guys that are ready for prime time, and then there's other guys that aren't, and they're trying to figure it out, man. And I just don't know if there is a fix, because you can't just snap a finger and make the kids ready. It's just all there is to it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I am always slightly irritated when everybody's just like, oh, fire Boeheim, fire Boeheim, fire Boeheim. Like, obviously there's plenty of blame to go around, and there's things that maybe he could do different, but
but how many years has he come out and acted like he's almost like exasperated? Like, I don't know.
I don't ever remember a press conference like the one we just listened to against Georgia Tech, after Georgia Tech.
No.
I don't remember a press conference like that. And I've listened to a lot of press conferences of his. I'm dating back long before I was listening to press conferences of his, long before we did this show. And this is our 7th year doing basketball. 7th season of basketball.
He felt defeated. He felt confused.
Yes.
I mean, it
he
seemed
was confused. He confused me. I didn't know what to think. That's why
because he doesn't know. It's never happened. It doesn't make sense to go and beat a team on the road by 17 and then lose. I mean, we were losing by 30. We were losing by 30 at home to Georgia Tech. Like, that's not what's supposed to happen. You don't go backwards.
Those things aren't supposed to happen. Losing to Georgia Tech by 10 isn't supposed to happen. So
getting out rebounded by did we get out rebounded
28? We've been out rebounded the last 4 games.
How do you get out rebounded by a team where the tallest guy that's playing is
what did I say? 34-28? Is that what I said? Yeah, 34-28. Yeah.
But how? How does that happen?
I don't know how, Joe. People are standing around. There's only 2 guys going after a rebound. And there's 3 guys watching them. And they're the 2 smaller guys in the court. On Jesse sometimes. But still, he's, look, Jesse's been phenomenal this year. I don't want to pick on Jesse. But my gosh, man, get some stronger hands once in a while. Some bad games. Yeah. I mean, grip the freaking ball. It's not, like, hot. So, anyway. Well, I don't know.
I don't know, dude. It's just crazy. I don't know. Sorry, someone's just pulled into my driveway. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
I know. I hear all kinds of things. Joe's in the woods, by the way, doing the podcast. I don't think he's wearing anything either. There's people yelling out front. Said there's a fox on the loose, and they think it's a rabbit.
No, it's Amazon. Of course.
There's never a day with Amazon. Hey, Joe, how you doing today?
How we doing?
Hey, got another one for Heather. Here it is. You want to take it to her? You want me to go in there? Did you guys fix me dinner again?
They know mine. I'm about to actually install some type of little doggy door mailbox thing in the back
for Amazon only.
Slide it in, yeah, for Amazon only. Well,
I'm surprised Amazon reaches that deep into Youngsville.
Yes. What?
I said I'm surprised Amazon reaches that deep into Youngsville.
Oh, come on, man. I'm right off the main street, man.
Down a dirt road, then down another dirt road.
Hey, look, that's why. That's why when I stood up, she said, Amazon.
Who is that? It's Amazon, I swear.
You don't just come down these roads for nothing.
No, you should definitely you should definitely give a courtesy honk.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Like I told you, I pray for the day that I can watch an Amazon truck come down our street and drive past my house. It hasn't happened yet, though.
I heard that. But look, I'm guilty, so I can't talk.
You are.
I am. I'm guilty. I am guilty. I do the Amazon thing. If I need something and I'm like, I don't feel like going to this store and that store and seeing if they got it, like it'll be here tomorrow. Okay, sold. Boom.
So hard. Sometimes they're here in hours.
Oh, they don't do that in my area. I don't get same day stuff.
No?
No, there's a hub too in Virginia Beach, but I mean, maybe it's because of the population. You got like 25 people that live there, so it's probably pretty easy to.
Stop it.
It's probably pretty easy to get there.
I mean, I don't know, but what do you think? Like,
what I think about what? You want to talk about basketball again?
The changing of the coaches. I mean, I'm gonna have to.
Look, I love Jim Boeheim. He's been here my whole life. I absolutely love the guy. I totally respect him. I don't agree with the bashing. I don't agree with the firing stuff. I don't agree with a lot of it. The dude's a legend. He's done so much for this school, and I mean, he put freaking Syracuse on the map. Without Jim Boeheim, it doesn't really happen. Okay, because you want to talk about. You can talk, whoa, Syracuse lacrosse and football. I mean, look, man, it's soccer. Okay, soccer won a national championship. No one's talking about that anymore. Let's be honest. I mean, it's great, but that's not putting Syracuse on the map. All right, basketball put Syracuse on the map back in the day. I was a kid. It's the first freaking sport I enjoyed watching. Coach Boeheim was the man. He was the man at the wheel, and we had some fantastic years. I have an emotional attachment, okay? So I do have built-in bias towards Jim Boeheim. With that said, I don't think it would be the end of the world to start figuring out a path outside of Jim Boeheim, but I think that's being done. And I just don't know, that when the time is the time, it's the time. It's not for me to say, it's not for fans to say. And I feel like sometimes fans have too much influence on everything anyway because of social media and all the rest of it. But there are some things that I think Jim could do better the last couple of years. And, I think 6 freshmen was risky to begin with. And it turned out to be so. I mean,
this day and age.
I'm no expert, but to maybe try to dabble. I mean, we got Monir Himo, right? Okay, we needed that. We needed a backup guy for Jesse. But maybe you get a little bit more experience, but you can't do both, or you're slighting someone. And they're going to be the young kids are going to be gone, and the transfers are going to be gone because most likely they're going to be 5th year guys, 4th year guys anyway.
Then that's the problem. You got these transfers, these graduate transfers coming in. Transfers are coming in to start and play.
Exactly. So what do you want to do? You want to lose a promising freshman that might be there 2 years
for 1 year
and give you solid time and give you solid building block to go off of? I mean, does Joe come back for a 5th year? I don't know. I don't see why he wouldn't. In my opinion, I don't feel like he's going anywhere right away. It's kind of like, does he want to do it? I think that's what it comes down to for Joe. He's got 1 more year. He can do this. I saw a lot out of Joe this year, a lot of progress in his position change and all that stuff. And I mean, I don't know, man, like I said,
he's he's an overseas professional basketball player.
Yes. He
is.
And
the way I look at it is, at the end of the day, he's probably like, I don't know how much better he's going to get. So really it just comes up to him. If he wants to do some school stuff and give it another shot to get into a tournament, then that's on him. You know what I mean? But Jesse can definitely get better. There's definitely improvements that Jesse can make, and he's not going to go to the NBA. So there's really, to me, no reason why Jesse wouldn't come back either. And realistically, Judah, I mean, I don't see him being a first-round pick. So if you're not a first-round pick, I just don't think that you should go, and that's just always been my
right. But that's not always the case.
That's your guaranteed contract, though.
Yeah, but
if you're second round, you're not guaranteed to make crap.
I know, but that's not always the case. There's a lot of really good players in college basketball that are going to be doing that. I think it comes down to that.
Well, that's the thing is that you have to think that it's not just college; it's international. International is going to take up 10 draft picks in the first round.
Oh, true that. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So you're only going to get the top 20, 25 guys from college in that first round anyway, because you're going to have the international guys. So, I mean, this is what it is. So, to me personally, the only one that would make sense in not coming back would be Joe, because he's going to be able to, go maximize how much money you can make overseas. You're not going to make the NBA. I mean, if you want to come back, I'm cool with it. But to me, it makes sense that he's ready to go and make some money. But again, I don't know his personal situation. So,
yeah, we'll see. Nala's back. Hello.
And then there's obviously the transfer situation and everything like that. But I guess my thing is that would you personally prefer them to hire an assistant coach from the team or somebody else, just somebody that has nothing to do?
We have an assistant coach from the team. Oh, you mean pull up an orange assistant to head?
Are we going to stay in the orange coaching tree like they did Hubert Davis and John Shire and keep the family, the whole family environment type thing, or are we going to completely just gut that?
I don't think it would be smart to totally gut that. There's going to be a lot of people who say we just need to do something totally different, but I think at this point, if you're talking about having a Jim Boeheim leave and you got to do something, I say, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I mean,
at least try that first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
at least it's going to be short, bro.
Oh, absolutely, it'll be short.
It's going to be a short little leash that says 2-3 zone on it.
It's going to be a short leash, but I don't see how you can honestly look at lacrosse. Gary Gate coaching the girls team, women's team, got an opening. Desco leaves. Gary Gate fills the hole. I mean, it's the only thing we don't have this with is football.
Yeah, but Gary Gate also brought that women's team to national prominence.
I know. That's not what I'm saying. You missed my point. I'm not comparing the caliber or anything like that. I'm just saying that, it's what a lot of teams do. It's what a lot of schools do. You got student athletes that end up becoming coaches, and I think why not try it? When you have the pieces to fill roles, why wouldn't you do it like that first? It's like me at work hiring from within. I always look from the guys I got to step up and do things before I would even think about going outside and looking for somebody, because they know what to do. They know the procedures. They know, they know what's black and white. They know that everything. And you talk about Jerry McNamara. I mean, is he going to stick with his own? I think it's time that we maybe start recruiting for some more athletic aspects to the defense. I think that there is a lot of truth to what I was saying earlier about the zone is just, it's been passed by to a certain extent because the game has changed so much and the game's different and the zone is just not as effective. I mean, we used to bitch about, all the offense is terrible, but we're keeping these games in the low 60s and first one to 55 wins. You know what I'm saying? Now we're just like, well, it's just a shootout and we're not keeping up because we're getting smoked. So,
yeah,
I mean, it has changed. It's changed. So you got to either start recruiting to change it.
See, I feel like there's a I feel like there was a time when we could have done that. Like, think about it. Boeheim, right? So he started out with a 2-3 zone, late 70s, comes on the head coach. There's not a 3-point line.
No, you're right.
3-point line was not even invented at that point.
Yeah.
So
it made him shoot from way out.
2-3 zone was easy.
Yeah. Made him shoot.
Oh, you're going to shoot all the way out there for 2 points?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't care. And it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked to the point where he gets Pearl Washington and Steven
Think about it. Think about this, Joe. Think about this. The last game against Georgia Tech, for instance, that's a 2-point loss.
Yeah.
If there's no
3-point line.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, that's how that 3-point line changed the game, right? And then it took players a long time to figure that out. They were still going down to the big men, traditional centers. Now you got teams where you got 4 or 5 guys that can all shoot threes. And they're stepping out and they're shooting deeper threes and they're spreading the zone out more and more and more. And that's really what happened. But he got so successful to the point where, you remember these teams where, like I said, Pearl Washington into Sherman Douglas, Stephen Thompson, Billy Owens, Derek Coleman, Ronnie Cycli, like that whole era, he got Syracuse to a point where he was recruiting top guys that made it to the NBA, that played man-to-man in the NBA. They played man-to-man. Boeheim played man-to-man when he had those guys.
Yeah.
So at some point, he got to a point where he didn't have to recruit for the zone, and he could have recruited whoever he wanted and just played man. But because that's how he started, that's how he stayed. And he always thought it was just going to be this staple. And there was times in his tenure where he could have made that switch, where he was still top recruiter, top-notch, teams that could get these NBA guys, and we could play man. And we never made the change. And now here we are, and now we're not as relevant in the ACC and in the past 5 years. So recruiting and then we lose recruits, right? We lose our big man coach with Bernie Fine, and now our big men aren't as good or haven't been, right? We lose Mike Hopkins, who's been our best recruiter. And now it's to the point where everyone can shoot threes. And there needs to be a change. And if he can't change, then we have to change the coach. And that's just the stark reality of where we're at right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, we'll see what happens at the end of this year. I just don't want it to fall apart. That's all.
It's just, my thing is that every single time that the game has changed, he's been able to make the change. Maybe there's a little hiccup in there. There's a little NIT 1 or 2 year. And then they make the change, they figure it out, and they move forward. And the 2-3 zone ends up working. And I just think that now we've gotten to the point where especially with the graduate transfer, not having to sit out, NIL, like it's tough. And unless he finds a way to figure this out, modify his way to make it work.
I think he's obviously reached the end of his options on it. Just to listen to the last press conference. But anyway, we could probably do another 2 hours like this on this topic and floating ideas around. But
like I said, it's just tough. It's tough to talk about because, like you said, it's just he's been the constant. I mean, everyone that's in the green room, most of the people that we talk to, he's been the coach. He's been Syracuse basketball since we grew up. And sometimes change is scary, you know, and as much as people want to scream for change, I mean,
I'm not more scared about it as I am just apprehensive, I guess, in some of the unknowns and just the nostalgia.
And grass isn't always greener.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. We've experienced enough stuff in our lives to know.
We've both hopped the fence before, so yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so that's what it is. Scary is the unknown. Scary is what's going to happen. Which again is the change.
I mean, what are we going to go through when that change happens?
Right.
So,
and can it be worse?
Look at what happened with Pitt. You know, what did it take Pitt? 3-4 years. I mean, John Capel. They were talking about firing Capel last year.
Well, he had to go buy a team, right?
I mean, he technically did buy a team. I mean, it technically did. Why is that so controversial? He technically did. In Miami, technically did buy a team. They at least bought one badass player for $800,000 in a car. I mean, everybody's buying teams. It's not a secret. Well, you just can't say it out loud now? Oh, you can't say that. I mean, Miami's under some kind of investigation for some of the shit that they did.
No, not Miami.
So, I mean, like Miami itself isn't that attractive enough to bring people.
Seriously.
I know, you know? So, anyway. Maybe some other time. All right. I will. Don't tempt me.
No.
That is going to do it for us today. If you're still listening, we appreciate all of you. Look, hang in there. You still have us. We can talk it out together. All right, we'll see you on Sunday. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.